Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Chief of the Army Staff, I welcome you all to this annual Army Day press conference 2021. I am sanguine that this interaction will be useful and positive. Before we commence with your questions, may I request the Chief of the Army Staff to deliver his opening remarks.
Jai Hind and good morning, everyone. And I would like to thank each and every one of you who have made it convenient to attend this event today, in spite of the COVID restrictions. And on this occasion, I would like to wish you all and all ranks of the Army, all officers, JCOs, Jawans, defense civilians, our Veer Naris, our families, our esteemed veterans, a very happy New Year and best wishes on the occasion of Army Day. And through you all, I would like to also convey the best wishes from the Indian Army to all the citizens of our country for a very happy and prosperous New Year. Before I give my opening remarks, I would also like to take this opportunity to convey our most heartfelt condolences to our RRM, who has suffered a most grievous personal tragedy, and we wish and pray for a speedy recovery. The last year was one full of challenges. We keep saying that we are prepared to meet all challenges, but last year we had to walk the talk and actually rise up to the occasion and show that we are indeed prepared to meet all these challenges. And I'm happy to say that we did so and came out on top and with flying colors. The challenges were multifarious, but main among them, of course, was the COVID and the situation on the northern borders. As far as the COVID pandemic is concerned, as early as the middle of February, based on whatever inputs we were getting, we had been able to make quite a pragmatic assessment of the situation and had instituted necessary force protection measures under Op Namaste, in which detailed instructions had been passed from the Army headquarters as well as through the medical channels on what all measures need to be instituted. Along with that, we also gave a free hand to our local commanders to institute all measures that they deem fit in their respective areas and garrisons. And I'm very happy to say that as a result of all this, we were able to maintain our operational preparedness. And as events unfolded during the course of the year, and when we needed all our units and formations to be deployed at short notice, these measures that we had instituted right from February onwards paid handsome dividends. There were, of course, some inconveniences caused because of the restrictions which had to be put in place, but I think in the larger interest, those were necessary. And while we were ourselves coming to terms with the COVID pandemic and instituting all these measures, we also reached out and gave help to all the state governments and our citizens to tackle this pandemic. We had opened a number of quarantine camps. We facilitated their treatment. They returned to their respective homes once their quarantine period was over. And I would like to make special mention of the yeoman service and the selfless and dedicated service put in by our medical fraternity, who have day in and day out for the last 6 months been treating the COVID patients, be it in service hospitals or be it in the civilian facilities, without a care for their own health and security. I must put that on record. As far as the situation on the northern borders are concerned, before that, I would like to briefly touch on the western front. Pakistan continues to embrace terror and terrorism as an instrument of state policy. However, we are very clear that we have zero tolerance for terror, and we reserve our right to respond at a time and place of our own choosing and with precision. And this is a clear message that we have sent across, that we will not tolerate any such kind of activity. Coming to the northern front, it is not only eastern Ladakh, but we have maintained a high state of alertness all along our northern borders. And as of now, keeping the threat perception in mind, we have gone in for our winter posture and our winter deployment. But as I said, we are alert and ever ready to meet any challenges. 8 rounds of talks between the corps commanders have taken place. We are now awaiting for the dates for the 9th round of talks, and I'm sure that through dialogue and discussion, we will be able to reach an amicable solution based on the principle of mutual and equal security and in consonance with the talks and the understandings which resulted as outcome of the meetings between the respective defense ministers and the respective foreign ministers. So I'm very hopeful for a positive situation. But as I said, we are ready to meet any eventuality. All the logistics aspects have been very well taken care of, whether it is clothing, ration, habitat. There is no cause for concern at all on that front. And as a result of all this, our operational preparedness is of a very high order, and the morale of the troops is high. But what has clearly emerged out of whatever has transpired in the last year is the need for us to restructure and for us to enhance our capabilities. As far as capability development is concerned, all-round development has taken place. We have signed a number of contracts in the last year, and these range from weapons and protective gear for the infantry, to the mechanized forces, to fire support elements, long-range vectors, engineer stores and equipment, communication equipment. What I mean to say is that it has been an all-round development, and each arm and service has got what it needs, because we are only the sum of our individual parts, and it is only when everyone is modern will the entire force be modernized. And I'm also glad to say that more than 80 to 85% of the contracts which have been signed are with our own Indian companies as part of our efforts to indigenize and in keeping with the Honorable Prime Minister's call for a Atmanirbhar Bharat. We have also got the necessary budgetary support to keep pace for our modernization plans. And these plans and these contracts which were signed is part of the acquisition plan which had been catered for. And we have got the necessary budgetary support for that, and for which we are thankful to the government and the Honorable Finance Minister for supporting us. As I mentioned, there is also a need to restructure, and to that end, we are transforming ourselves from a manpower intensive to a technology enabled force, which is, I think, the way forward for the future. We had sponsored a study through the Army Training Command to look into what all niche technologies we need to transform ourselves into this technology-enabled force. And that study has been carried out, and a broad roadmap has been prepared to include all such technologies as artificial intelligence, robotics, quantum computing, blockchain, big data, and the like. And through our Army Design Bureau, we have sponsored a number of projects through the Army Technology Board, projects worth 36 crores, and through the Technology Development Fund, projects worth another 23 crores or so. So as I said, we are well on our way to transforming ourselves and restructuring ourselves to meet the challenges of the future. And this restructuring also includes the restructuring at the tri-service level, and we are fully committed to tri-service jointness and the evolution of various integrated commands. And we will work with the other services to make sure that this happens in a very calibrated and smooth manner. If you recollect, last year, as part of the KRAs, I had mentioned P, that is personnel, as one of the focus areas. I'm glad to say that during the last year, we have been able to achieve a number of schemes, projects, government orders, in which various issues which were pending have got resolved, relating to pay and allowances, not only for the serving personnel, but also for our veterans, because personnel involves our ex-servicemen who are as much part of our army family. I will not go into the details of each and every of these sanctions which has been received, but we have been able to make good headway. That does not mean to say that all the issues have been resolved, but a number of the more important ones have got resolved, as a result of which a lot of benefits have accrued to both serving and retired personnel. Before I take your questions, I would like to reassure you once again that the Indian Army is fully prepared and geared up to face whatever threats are there, external or internal. And I would like to thank you all once again for having supported us throughout the year which has just gone by. You've always been there to bank on, and we will continue to bank on you all to keep our citizens informed of whatever is going on through honest and truthful reporting. Thank you, and I'm now open to questions.
Okay, 3 questions at a time. And let me first give an opportunity to the agencies.
Hi. Sir, you have completed 1 year in office as Chief of Army Staff. Can you tell us what would be your operational and administrative priorities for the coming year? Thank you.
Okay, let's have 73, Manas Bhuya, PTI.
So this is Manas from PTI. Sir, as you briefly mentioned about the threats facing the nation from both the fronts, northern and western fronts, so are we as a nation, in fact, recalibrating our national security doctrine to deal with the evolving security scenario in the region? And are we taking any long-term vision and to just implement a long-term vision to deal with these multiple security challenges, complex security scenario? Are you have enough resources to deal with them? How do you see the threats from both Pakistan and China, and how we are dealing with them in a long-term perspective? Thank you so much.
We'll take the third question. Roshan Lal, 29, Rashtriya Sahara. Okay, he had raised his hand just now.
Yes,
Okay,
जी सर
okay,
सर इधर
fine.
सर मेरा सवाल है अभी आपने कहा कि पाकिस्तान की तरफ से स्टेट स्पॉन्सर्ड टेररिज्म बढ़ रहा है लेकिन एक और समस्या खड़ी हो गई कि जो लोकल लोग हैं जम्मू कश्मीर के वो टेररिज्म जो संगठन है उनमें ज़्यादा भर्तियां हो रही हैं और इसमें आर्मी की भविष्य की क्या रणनीति है और क्या आप इसको आंतरिक सुरक्षा के लिए ज़्यादा खतरा मानते हैं?
Thank you. I'll try and answer each of these questions. For the first year in office, our priorities were always to ensure the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the country, to maintain high levels of op preparedness, continue with our capability development as part of the long-term integrated perspective plan and within the allocated budgets. Also look into the human resource aspects, which I had briefly mentioned, and of course, look after our Veer Naris and the ex-servicemen, our veterans. I think these priorities do not change from year to year, and this will continue to be our priority, more or less in the same order. We will continue to ensure that we are always prepared and operationally ready to meet all eventualities, both external and internal, and prepare our forces, arm and equip them and train them to meet these challenges. As far as our threats are concerned, we continue to carry out periodic reviews of the threat perception, taking a holistic view of both the international and the regional situation, the geostrategic perspective, and based on this reassessment and overview that we carry out, reappraisal that we carry out, we keep modifying our own plans and strategies. So this is a continuous process. It does not end with any one such assessment, but whenever we get together and whenever some other developments take place, these developments could be in terms of additional deployments in the border areas. This could be in terms of changes and developments in infrastructure in the border areas. Could be as a result of change in policies. Whatever might be the input, based on that, we carry out these reappraisals. But there is no doubt that Pakistan and China together form a very potent threat, and there is an aspect of collusivity which cannot be wished away, and that is also very much part of our strategic planning and calculus when we are formulating our plans. जहाँ तक पाकिस्तान और टेररिज्म का सवाल है, आपने जिक्र किया है कि अभी भी रिक्रूटमेंट जो है अलग अलग तंजीमों में अभी भी जारी है। ये ज़रूर है कि हम पिछले साल या हर साल हमारे सक्सेसफुल ऑपरेशंस में कई टेररिस्ट मार गिराते हैं, लेकिन साथ साथ तंजीमों में भर्ती भी होती रहती है। तो हमारी हमेशा यही कोशिश रहती है कि कैसे ये नीचे से लोग जो भर्ती हो रहे हैं उनको रोका जाए, और इसीलिए हमारे ये ऑप सद्भावना प्रोजेक्ट होते हैं जिनमें हम आवाम के पास जाते हैं, ख़ास करके जो युवक हैं जो बहकावे में आके इन तंजीमों के साथ जुट जाते हैं। तो ये एक लगातार हमारी कोशिश रहती है, और मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि इन कोशिशों की वजह से जो भर्ती है वो हर साल थोड़ी थोड़ी कम होती जा रही है। थोड़े अप एंड डाउन ज़रूर होते हैं, और मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है कि एक होल ऑफ गवर्नमेंट अप्रोच से जैसे जैसे डेवलपमेंट होता रहेगा, जैसे जैसे और मौके मिलेंगे एम्प्लॉयमेंट के लिए, वैसे वैसे ये जो भर्ती हो रही है वो घटती जाएगी, और जो सुरक्षा स्थिति है उसमें बढ़ोतरी होगी।
Okay, questions? Yeah. I can see 37.
उसमें आपको क्या टेक्निकल और स्ट्रेटेजिक टारगेट्स दिए थे पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप ने, और 8 महीने बाद वो ग्राउंड पे कहाँ है सर?
Okay, let's take another one. Yeah, Rajiv Ranjan, 107. He has been raising for a long time. Yeah, NDTV.
सर, राजीव रंजन, एनडीटीवी इंडिया। मेरा सवाल है कि क्या इस तरह की खबर मीडिया में आई है कि पूर्वी लद्दाख से चीनी सैनिक वापस हुए हैं? तो हुए हैं तो कितने हुए हैं? क्या हम लोग भी पीछे हटे हैं? और क्या अब एलएसी को एलओसी मान लिया जाना चाहिए?
Okay. 03. Abhishek Bhalla. India TV. India Today TV.
Good morning, sir. I'm Abhishek Bhalla from India Today TV. Sir, can you tell us the expanse of Indian territory that is in Chinese occupation, and in that sense, has the status quo been changed? If yes, what are we exploring? And if no, what is the way forward?
ये तीनों सवाल ईस्टर्न लद्दाख की जो स्थिति है इससे जुड़े हुए हैं। मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि जो मोबिलाइजेशन हुआ था चाइना के तरफ से वो कोई नई चीज़ नहीं थी। वो हर साल ट्रेनिंग के लिए आते हैं, और हमारी पूरी खबर थी कि वो किन किन इलाकों में मौजूद हैं। इसको हम लगातार मॉनिटर कर रहे थे, लेकिन अचानक जो फर्स्ट मूवर एडवांटेज होता है, अचानक कोई हरकत करेगा, इसका कभी अंदाज़ा नहीं लगाया जा सकता। तो ये फर्स्ट मूवर एडवांटेज हमेशा रहेगा, जैसे हमारे पास रहा अगस्त के महीने में। हालांकि हम आई बॉल टू आई बॉल कांटेक्ट में थे, तब भी चीन को नहीं पता चला कि हम ऐसे कोई उनको सरप्राइज़ करेंगे। तो ये फर्स्ट मूवर एडवांटेज हमेशा होगा। लेकिन जो स्थिति है आज लद्दाख में, वो वही स्थिति है जो हमेशा के लिए रही है, और हमें गवर्नमेंट से यही डायरेक्शन मिले हैं कि जो पोजीशन है और उसको उस पर हम कायम रहेंगे, डटे हुए रहेंगे, चाहे सर्दी हो या गर्मी के मौसम हो। और जो भी बातचीत चल रही है अलग अलग लेवल पे, चाहे वो मिलिट्री लेवल पे हो या डिप्लोमेटिक लेवल पे हो, इन बातचीत के ज़रिए हम जो भी समझौता करना है वो करेंगे। उसी आधार पे, जैसे मैंने पहले जिक्र किया था, म्यूचुअल और इक्वल सिक्योरिटी, और यही हम चाहते हैं। और मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है और विश्वास है कि इस डायलॉग के ज़रिए हम जो भी अपना लक्ष्य है वो हासिल कर पाएंगे।
Next set of questions. No, wait.
Okay, I will answer that question also. As I mentioned that every year the PLA troops come to their traditional training areas to carry out their training. With the onset of winters and at the completion of this training period, these troops have also, those training areas have been vacated. And since those training areas have been vacated, it would be fair to assume that those troops who had come, who were in the depth areas on the Tibetan plateau, have gone back to their garrisons, and that is the reduction in the strength on the plateau, in the Tibetan plateau, that has taken place. However, there has been no decrease in strength either on their side or on our side as far as the friction points are concerned.
Next, 91, Sumit Kumar Singh, INS.
I think I had answered some of these questions in the previous set of questions that had been asked. As far as the situation in Eastern Ladakh is concerned, in the areas which were just mentioned, the situation is the same as was prevailing last year. There has been no change in the status quo. As far as the resolution of the present situation is concerned, we are hoping that, again, I will repeat that based on the principle of mutual and equal security, we would be able to reach an agreement which would result in disengagement and de-escalation. Disengagement from the friction areas, and once this disengagement has been achieved, then an overall de-escalation and a reduction in the strength of the troops in the forward areas. जहाँ तक आपका सवाल है, एयरफोर्स और नेवी में ज़रूर पायलट्स है, और बहुत अच्छी बात है कि आपने ये सवाल पूछा, क्योंकि तकरीबन 1 महीने पहले ही मैंने आदेश पास किए हैं कि आर्मी एविएशन में अभी तक जो हमारे महिला ऑफिसर्स हैं वो सिर्फ ATC में, एयर ट्रैफिक कंट्रोल, यानी ग्राउंड ड्यूटीज़ में है। और पिछले महीने ही ये प्रपोज़ल मैंने इनिशिएट किया है, और AG's ब्रांच, MS ब्रांच, एविएशन डायरेक्टरेट तीनों इस पर सहमत है कि एविएशन में भी विमेन ऑफिसर्स हो सकते हैं फ्लाइंग ब्रांच में, फ्लाइंग ड्यूटीज़ के लिए। और हम सोच रहे हैं कि अगला जो कोर्स शुरू होगा, जो कि जुलाई के महीने में होगा, उसमें ज़रूर विमेन ऑफिसर्स पायलट ट्रेनिंग के लिए दाखिल होंगे। और 1 साल के ट्रेनिंग के बाद तकरीबन अगले साल के जून जुलाई में वो भी अपने फ्रंट लाइन ऑपरेशनल यूनिट्स में फ्लाइंग ड्यूटीज़ में जुड़ पाएंगे।
Theater commands.
No. थिएटर कमांड्स, इंटीग्रेटेड थिएटर कमांड्स एक लॉन्ग टर्म प्रक्रिया है, और चाहे जो भी स्थिति हो, हम इंटीग्रेशन के ऊपर ज़रूर आगे बढ़ेंगे। और ये मैं ये समझूंगा कि ये अच्छा मौका है कि हम इससे जो हम एक्सपीरियंस गेन कर सकते हैं उसको लेकर हम जो इंटीग्रेटेड थिएटर कमांड का जो ढांचा है वो उसको हम और भी अच्छा बना सकें। लेकिन इंटीग्रेटेड थिएटर कमांड्स चाहे लैंड, एयर या मैरीटाइम हो, ये ज़रूर होंगे और इसके ऊपर हम पूरा हमारा साथ देंगे कि ये प्रक्रिया जो है वो आगे बढ़े।
14, Pranjali Singh from Lok Sabha TV.
सर, प्रांजलि सिंह फ्रॉम लोकसभा टीवी। सर, मेरा सवाल आपसे ये है कि अभी ड्यू टू पैंडमिक हमने देखा कि अभी इकोनॉमी की क्या हालत है। इस बार सर विंटर में हमारी जो एक्स्ट्रा डिप्लॉयमेंट है और साथ में जो फौज के मॉडर्नाइजेशन पे हम काम कर रहे हैं, उसमें आने वाले बजट से सर इंडियन गवर्नमेंट से आपकी एक्सपेक्टेशन क्या है और आप कैसे बैलेंस कर रहे हैं और आगे बैलेंस करने की आपकी तैयारी क्या है? एंड सर लास्ट क्वेश्चन इस कि लैंड मोनेटाइजेशन पे काफ़ी वक्त से बातचीत हो रही है, चल रही है, अभी इस पर स्टेटस क्या है?
109, मंजीत नेगी.
जनरल साहब, आपकी हाल की यात्रा रही है दक्षिण कोरिया और सऊदी अरब की।
नज़र नहीं आ रहे? हाँ, ओके, ठीक है।
मेरा सवाल ये कि आपकी दो महत्वपूर्ण यात्रा रही हैं दक्षिण कोरिया की और सऊदी अरब की। चीन और पाकिस्तान के संदर्भ में आपको लगता है कि कितनी महत्वपूर्ण है सामरिक तौर पर ये दोनों यात्राएं? और एक छोटा सा सवाल,
I'll take the third question. 53, Manish Prasad, India TV.
सर, मैं मनीष हूँ इंडिया टीवी से। लाइन ऑफ एक्चुअल कंट्रोल की बात लगातार की जा रही है। इस समय जो हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड इंजरीज़ या फिर कैजुअलिटीज़ हैं लाइन ऑफ एक्चुअल कंट्रोल और नियर बाय एरियाज़ में, वो कितनी हैं, उसके ऊपर क्या डिटेलिंग है? और क्या आने वाले टाइम पे जो इस समय लाइन ऑफ एक्चुअल कंट्रोल 3488 किलोमीटर्स का पूरा एरिया है, उसके साथ साथ जो एडजॉइनिंग हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड रीजन्स हैं LOC पे भी, उस पर भी इस तरीके की सिचुएशन बनी है?
जहाँ तक बजट और फोर्स मॉडर्नाइजेशन का सवाल है, जैसे मैंने पहले कहा था कि जो हमारा लॉन्ग टर्म इंटीग्रेटेड पर्सपेक्टिव प्लान है उसके अंतर्गत हम फोर्स मॉडर्नाइजेशन कर रहे हैं। स्थिति को देखते हुए और बजटरी एलोकेशंस को देखते हुए ये प्रायोरिटीज़ चेंज होते रहते हैं और प्रायोरिटाइज करके हम अपनी मॉडर्नाइजेशन का जो प्लान है उसमें भी हम जो बदलाव लाने हैं वो लाते रहते हैं। लेकिन हालात को देखते हुए जो भी हमने गवर्नमेंट से मांगा है वो हमें ज़रूर मिला है। और पिछले साल हालांकि सभी मिनिस्ट्रीज़ को बताया गया था कि एक हर क्वार्टर में 25% की जगह सिर्फ 20% ही एक्सपेंडिचर करना है, उस किस्म की कोई रिस्ट्रिक्शंस मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ डिफेंस पर नहीं थी। और जो RE स्टेज है उसमें भी हमें पूरी उम्मीद है कि RE स्टेज में, और हमें पूरा भरोसा है कि अभी जो RE स्टेज का रिवाइज्ड एलोकेशन घोषित किया जाएगा उसमें भी हमें खास करके रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर के लिए और फंड्स मिलेंगे, जिससे कि जो भी और भी हमने काम करना है बाकी फाइनेंशियल ईयर में वो हम पूरा कर पाएंगे। जहाँ तक लैंड मोनेटाइजेशन का सवाल है, इस पर भी काफ़ी प्रोग्रेस हुआ है और अभी हमें लैंड के बदले इक्वल वैल्यू इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर लेने की इजाज़त मिली है। तो इस पॉलिसी के होते हुए, इस पॉलिसी के अंतर्गत हम ये मोनेटाइजेशन की कार्रवाई को आगे ले जाएंगे। लेकिन अभी इस वक्त क्योंकि ये कोविड वाला सिचुएशन है, तो जो लैंड प्राइसेस है उसमें भी गिरावट हुई है। तो इसलिए इस वक्त हम इस लैंड मोनेटाइजेशन और उसके बदले जो EVI की कार्रवाई है उस पर हम थोड़ा वेट कर रहे हैं, ताकि जब स्थिति सुधरेगी तब हम इसको और आगे ले जाएंगे। लेकिन ये ज़रूर एक चीज़ है जो बहुत आवश्यक है और बहुत अच्छा होगा तीनों सर्विसेज के लिए, कि जो अनयूज्ड लैंड है, जैसे कि कैंपिंग ग्राउंड है पुराने ज़मानों के, या जो लैंड है जिसका अभी हमें उपयोग नहीं है, जैसे मिलिट्री फार्म क्लोज होने के बाद वो जो सरप्लस लैंड हुई है, इन किस्म के लैंड के बदले में इक्वल वैल्यू इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बना के हमारे बहुत सारे जो बजटरी कंस्ट्रेंट्स हैं वो भी दूर होंगे। वो हाई एल्टीट्यूड के एरियाज़ में जो कोल्ड इंजरीज़ हैं, मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि जो हमने कार्रवाई की थी, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट, स्पेशल क्लोथिंग, स्पेशल राशन, हीटिंग अरेंजमेंट्स, इन पूरे चीज़ों के वजह से इस साल जो कोल्ड इंजरीज़ है, हालांकि पिछले साल की निस्बत और ट्रूप्स है फॉरवर्ड एरियाज़ में LAC के ऊपर, LC के ऊपर, लेकिन फिर भी जो कोल्ड इंजरीज़ की मात्रा है वो तकरीबन उतनी ही रही है। पिछले साल 0.13% था, इस साल 0.15% है। और ये इसलिए है कि हम तैयार थे और सारे मिलकर, इंजीनियर्स, MGO, सारे मिलकर हम ये पूरी जो बैकअप चाहिए होता है फॉरवर्ड एरिया में डिप्लॉयमेंट के लिए, वो हम पूरा कर पाए और इसीलिए कोई ऐसे कोल्ड इंजरीज़ नहीं हुए हैं। जहाँ तक ये फॉरेन विजिट्स का सवाल है, ये एक मिलिट्री डिप्लोमेसी का हिस्सा है और UAE, सऊदी अरेबिया और साउथ कोरिया, इन 3 देशों की यात्रा से ये साफ उभर आया है कि ये तीनों देशों हमारे साथ और रिश्ता बढ़ाना चाहते हैं हर फील्ड में, इंडस्ट्रियल कोऑपरेशन, टूरिज़्म और डिफेंस डिप्लोमेसी भी। और डिफेंस के क्षेत्र में ये ना सिर्फ इंडिविजुअल ट्रेनिंग, जो कोर्सेज़ के लिए हमारे जवान एक दूसरे के देश में जाते हैं, लेकिन जॉइंट एक्सरसाइजेज भी और डिफेंस कोऑपरेशन में वो भी चाहते हैं कि वो हमसे कोई डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट ले, और जो एम है डिफेंस एक्सपोर्ट्स का, वो भी इसके थ्रू जो है हम आगे बढ़ा पाएंगे। I think we can ask this side. You are biased to the right.
Right, sir. 13. Yeah, Sumit Chaudhary, TV9.
Sumit Chaudhary from TV9. सर सुमित चौधरी फ्रॉम TV9 भारतवर्ष। सर मेरा सवाल आपसे ये था कि मई महीने से पिछले साल से ईस्टर्न लद्दाख में जो सिचुएशन है वो आई बॉल टू आई बॉल है, लेकिन क्या LAC के दूसरे पार्ट्स में भी, यानी अरुणाचल में या सेंट्रल कमांड में भी सिचुएशन इसी तरीके की है, और क्या कुछ नए इनपुट मिले हैं खास तौर पे चीन की तरफ से नए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाने के इन एरियाज़ के अंदर भी?
संदीप बोल, न्यूज़ 18।
सर संदीप बोल फ्रॉम न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया। सर मेरा सवाल यह है कि अप्रैल से पहले, ईस्टर्न लद्दाख की बात करें, अप्रैल से पहले इंडियन आर्मी जहां जहां पेट्रोलिंग करती थी, अप्रैल के बाद क्या स्थिति है? किन किन जगह तक, कितने ऐसे पेट्रोलिंग पॉइंट है जहां तक वो पेट्रोलिंग करती है? क्या कोई बदलाव आया है चाइना के एग्रेशन के बाद से?
16 मनीष झा। Yep.
सर,
This is Manish Kumar Jha from Business World. Sir, this is regarding the recent research done by USI, which raises critical gap in addressing the mental health of Jawan within the army. I understand it is more than a million forces, and army has taken some specific steps to address it. But could you talk about some of the more initiatives which you plan to take and which should perlocate down to the company level, which addresses such a critical gap? Because at about 100 Jawan die suicide every year, as the data talks about within the Indian Army, and it also affects the morale of our Jawan at the very bottom up to the higher level, sir. Thank you very much.
मैं जो दूसरा सवाल था उसका जवाब पहले दूंगा, और जो ईस्टर्न लद्दाख में स्थिति है, पेट्रोलिंग है, इसके बारे में मेरे ख्याल से मैं 2 बार बता चुका हूँ कि जो स्थिति पहले थी वो भी अभी वैसे ही है, उसमें कोई बदलाव नहीं आया है। जहाँ तक दूसरे इलाकों की बात है, हम सिर्फ ईस्टर्न लद्दाख पे नहीं बल्कि पूरे नॉर्दर्न बॉर्डर्स पर लगातार हम निगरानी रखे हुए हैं। सेंट्रल सेक्टर और ईस्टर्न कमांड के एरिया में ऐसे आईबॉल टू आईबॉल डिप्लॉयमेंट नहीं है, लेकिन यहाँ पर भी फ्रिक्शन पॉइंट्स हैं, और इन इलाकों में चाइना ने अपने तरफ काफ़ी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाया है, नए सड़कें बनाई हैं, नए बैरक बनाए हैं, और जैसे मैं पहले कह रहा था कि ये सारे चीज़ें हम हमेशा देखते रहते हैं और इनको फैक्टर इन करते हैं जब कभी हम कोई नई स्ट्रैटेजी या रणनीति बनाते हैं। जो आपने ये सवाल पूछा है स्ट्रेस के बारे में, ये रिपोर्ट मैंने भी पढ़ी है। ये मैं कहना चाहूँगा कि ये जो रिपोर्ट बनाई गई, इसका जो सैंपल साइज़ था वो सिर्फ 400 था, और ये मैं समझता हूँ कि एडिक्वेट सैंपल साइज़ नहीं है। अगर आपको 99% एक्यूरेसी चाहिए हो विथ 1% मार्जिन ऑफ एरर, तो इस किस्म के स्टडी के लिए तकरीबन 19,000 सैंपल लेने चाहिए थे, और अगर 95% एक्यूरेसी चाहिए वो फिर नीचे आ जाएगा तकरीबन 7-8 हज़ार सैंपल साइज़। तो ये 400 का सैंपल लेके इसके ऊपर हम नहीं कह सकते कि स्ट्रेस है या स्ट्रेस नहीं है। हो सकता है कि स्ट्रेस है भी, मैं भी स्ट्रेस्ड हूँ, लेकिन स्ट्रेस जो है वो बुरी बात नहीं होती है। स्ट्रेस होने से जो है अच्छा काम भी होता है। तो ये हुआ जहाँ तक वो स्ट्रेस की बात है, लेकिन इससे निपटने के लिए हमने कई कदम उठाए हैं, कई एडवाइजरी दिए हैं, क्या क्या फैक्टर्स हो सकते हैं स्ट्रेस के लिए। किसी के बच्चे नहीं हो रहे हैं, शादीशुदा जो हैं, किसी की शादी नहीं हो रही, किसी के लड़कियां 12वीं क्लास में हैं, उसका भी स्ट्रेस होता है कि अच्छा रिज़ल्ट आएगा या नहीं आएगा, एडमिशन कहाँ होगा। जिनके बड़े बच्चे हैं उनकी शादी होगी या नहीं होगी, उसका भी स्ट्रेस होता है। तो ये सारे हमने फैक्टर्स एनालाइज किए हैं, और इसी को मद्देनज़र रखते हुए जो लोग इन कैटेगरीज़ में हैं उनसे लगातार हम कंपनी कमांडर CO लेवल पर बातचीत करते रहते हैं, और जो भी अगर कुछ समस्या हो उसका हल निकालने की कोशिश जारी रहती है हमारी। और मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि एक्चुअली सुसाइड के जो आंकड़े हैं वो नीचे आए हैं, बड़े नहीं हैं। तो आपकी खबर मुझे पता नहीं कहाँ से है, लेकिन मेरे फैक्ट्स एंड फिगर्स ये दिखाते हैं कि सुसाइड फिगर्स एक्चुअली कम हुए हैं ईयर ऑन ईयर। No, totally incorrect. On the situation on the northern borders, and as far as certain studies that we are doing, As I mentioned earlier, we carry out a periodic review of our operational plans and our strategy to deal with various threats, both external and internal, and the external threats, whether it is one front or two front. And based on these reviews that we carry out, certain amount of rebalancing, if you would like to call it that, rebalancing does happen. This is a continuous and ongoing process. And as the events in Eastern Ladakh had shown, that there was indeed a requirement of carrying out a certain amount of rebalancing towards our northern borders, and that is what we have now put into place. 8 rounds of talks have taken place between the military commanders on either side. Each of these rounds has been either preceded or followed by a diplomatic level engagement through the WMCC. So the talks are an ongoing process. We will ensure that through the medium of these talks, we reach a solution which is acceptable and not detrimental to our interests. And if the talks get prolonged, so be it. And we are prepared to hold our ground where we are for as long as it takes to achieve our national goals and interests. जहाँ तक बजट का सवाल है, मेरे ख्याल से इससे पहले भी इसके ऊपर बताया था कि हमारे जो डिमांड्स हैं कैपिटल और रेवेन्यू, वो हमने मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ डिफेंस के थ्रू आगे भेजे हैं, और मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है कि जो भी हमारे रिक्वायरमेंट्स हैं, ओवरऑल जो नेशनल बजट है उसको मद्देनज़र रखते हुए हमें ज़रूर मिलेंगे। अगर आप पिछले साल का भी बजट देखें तो जो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर था उसका तकरीबन 15% सबसे बड़ा हिस्सा डिफेंस बजट में था। तो किसी भी किस्म से और किसी भी तरीके से आप देखो तो जो डिफेंस के लिए जो भी आउटले करने की ज़रूरत है वो मेरे ख्याल से गवर्नमेंट कर रही है, और इस पर भी हमें आश्वासन दिया गया है कि स्थिति को देखते हुए अगर कोई एडिशनल रिक्वायरमेंट हो तो वो भी पूरी की जाएगी।
Okay, next set of questions. We have Manu Pabi, 36, Economic Times.
I think I had clarified earlier that every summer for the summer training, a number of units and formations of the PLA come into the Tibetan Plateau for the training. And at the end of the training year, especially as the winter set in, many of these units go back. And these are the areas, these traditional training areas that have been vacated. We should not read too much into either their presence in these training areas or their absence and going back from these training areas. These areas are well in depth, as much as anything from 500 to 1500 kilometers away from the borders. But all the same, we keep an eye on them because these are the forces which could be mobilized and reach the borders in 24 to 48 hours. So therefore, the necessity of keeping a watch on all the deployments in the Tibetan Plateau. But as I said, we need not lay too much significance on these comings and goings. But what is more important is that the border areas where the eyeball to eyeball confrontation is there and the various friction areas which are there, there has been no reduction of troops in these particular areas, and that is where we have to be more concerned and careful. Connected to this is the question of collusion between Pakistan and China. there is no doubt that a collusive threat exists. This is not just something which was part of some strategy paper or loud thought process, but it is very much manifesting itself on the ground. There is indeed increased cooperation between China and Pakistan in both military and non-military fields, and a two-front threat is very much something that we have to be prepared to deal with. And in dealing with such a threat, we will of course have to see which is the more serious threat and prioritize and deal with that first. The AK-203, the negotiations are at an advanced stage. There were some last-minute hitches and hiccups, but I believe that those have been ironed out now, and I'm hopeful that the final contracts should be signed very soon. As far as the Look-East policy is concerned, that is a very good initiative by the government. It is not something new. It has been there for the last many years. And I do believe that as part of this Look-East policy, the armed forces, all three, Army, Navy, Air Force, have a very important role to play in furthering the government's Look-East policy.
We'll have the last question, last set of questions. Shrin Joy has been raising his hand for a long time.
Sir, it's the government's decision, of course, but it has to be initiated by the army. We know that about 6 months ago, 20 of our bravehearts died in the Galwan area. Has the army initiated any process in terms of awards to honor some of these soldiers, brave soldiers who died? And I know a decision will be taken or announcement will be made in about 10 days, but what can you tell us about what the army has done to honor these brave men?
92, Shreya Dondial, CNN IBN.
Sir, good morning. Happy New Year to you. My question is this: are there any plans to move the army completely out of the internal security duties and focus on its conventional roles? Have you mooted any proposal for pulling completely out of Jammu and Kashmir and the Northeast, sir?
Okay. 98, Delhi Defense Review. Chandrasekhar.
Sir, Chandrasekhar from Delhi Defense Review. My question is regarding, there have been a lot of media reports and as well as strategic dialogue with Afghanistan. Is the army contemplating putting troops on the ground, sir?
Well, as far as honors and awards are concerned, it is not just for the officers and jawans who were martyred at Galwan, but throughout the past year, there have been many gallant actions carried out by our men. Some of these actions have resulted in casualties on our own side also. And all these actions, the citations have been received and they have been evaluated on their merits, and our recommendations for honoring all those who have performed acts of gallantry and valor have been forwarded to the ministry for its final approval. But suffice to say that all those who have contributed in upholding the security and sanctity of the country, their acts will be recognized in some way or the other. As far as internal security duties is concerned, the situation in J&K, I have already told you, terror continues unabated. Although the situation in the hinterland has improved somewhat, but it has not yet reached a level in which we can even contemplate moving troops out of the union territory of J&K. But as far as the Northeast is concerned, definitely the security situation has improved manifold. except for 3 districts of Arunachal, Nagaland, except for one group of NSC and K, which is not in the ceasefire, but with the surrender of the top leadership of K, which was hiding in Myanmar, we are hopeful that they will also rejoin the ceasefire process, making Nagaland again violence-free. Mizoram, as it is, there was no violence. Manipur, again, there are 1 or 2 groups only which are involved. Most of Assam is quiet. So overall, the situation in the northeast has improved by leaps and bounds over the last 1 or 2 years, both due to the concerted efforts of the security forces, the army, the Assam Rifle, and the state police forces, as also the various initiatives taken by the government. And as a result of this, we have carried out a reassessment of our commitments in internal security. And in fact, 1 brigade has already been pulled out. And we were only awaiting the successful conclusion of the BTAD elections, which were actually scheduled, which should have happened in June, July of last year, but had got postponed till about December. And once that stabilizes, we will be able to pull out further at least 1 or 2 more brigades, and with that, hand over the law and order situation to the state police apparatus and the other CAPFs, and then be able to concentrate fully on our primary task, that is to deal with external threats. But side by side, I would also like to say that certain emergent requirements do keep coming up, especially in aid to civil authorities, and for that we have to step up to the plate and make ourselves available so that these emerging situations are also dealt with, especially when it comes to HADR, disaster relief. You would be aware that even now there is a major fire going on in the Zoko Valley in Nagaland. There was an oil fire in the oil well in Baglijan. So in all these places, although we would like to concentrate only on our primary task, that is to deal with external threats, we do have to get involved from time to time to deal with these other things, because whatever we do, ultimately, we do it for the well-being of our citizens and for our people. As far as Afghanistan is concerned, there are no plans whatsoever to commit boots on ground, and neither do we envisage such a scenario developing in the near future. Thank you.
With that, due to shortage of time, we will come to an end. We'll go in for lunch, and some of you.
Large number of factions operating in Nagaland, not just the NSCM IM, but you have K, K1, K2, I think half a dozen people. But most of them are committed to the peace process, including the IM. But you cannot rule out the possibility of anybody fishing in troubled waters. And we are keeping our eyes and ears open, and we are not ruling out that possibility. And there is no doubt that for any insurgency to survive, it can only do so with external support. So we are cognizant of that fact, and we will deal with it as the situation arises. Thank you.